changed differently? Because it seemed like you did the underwriting correctly, right? Enough where you're not losing on it. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, what would you have done? What would you have changed about the deal then, with hindsight and everything?
Yeah, I mean, like it was my third asset that I purchased. So I had prior experience.
Hmm.
But I guess what I would change differently is being in more communication with my property manager. To be honest, I was juggling too many balls between my mobile home park, my 26 unit, my 20 unit, and I'm renovating all of those, right? And my mobile home park has the most money, or I'm putting the most money into it. So as a result, where my money goes, my attention flows, right? So of course, I'm putting my most attention on my mobile home park. I was making a lot of assumptions. So I think I would go back is, okay, number one, I want to do 3 value adds at the same time while working full time, right? I was so stressed out the past year, right? You wouldn't think that, like when I tell people I own 90 units, people think like, oh, you must be like way loaded in cash flow. Yes, if all 90 are stabilized. That's the key point. If all 90 units are cash flowing $200 per unit, yeah, I'd have 20K a month. I'd be retired. But it's going to take me like, maybe 3 to 4 years to get there, right? And then when you force depreciation, you do a cash out refinance, your loan goes up, so your cash flow goes down, right? So it bites into your cash flow. So I think I would change that. Number two, I would change is I wouldn't wait to the last minute for my cash out refinance, like what I'm kind of doing right now. I kind of made an assumption that my extension would be there. I mean, it still is, but I wish I maybe did the extension earlier when there's no fees.
They kind of did you dirty there, right? It sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably in the contract, to be honest. I probably just signed it and didn't look. They're covering themselves, but, I would say it's on me a little bit. I take ownership. I don't blame people. I don't point fingers.
Yeah.
But and then in terms of renovation, there was a period where after I renovated 5 units, I was kind of testing the market, what the rents would be. And I told my contractor, hey, like, I might need to put you on pause for a little bit. So I want to see what the rents are to know how to renovate. Because you don't want to over renovate properties. So you never want to spend $20,000 to renovate a unit that gets you $500 in rent, when you can spend $5,000 and get the same rents, right? It just makes no sense. So that's what I changed differently. But overall, I'd say like this deal was like, minus my hiccup with the cash out refinance, I say it's pretty smooth, considering that it was probably like I call it the second child that's kind of neglected a little bit. Like considering that it's been neglected and I'm working full time, I'd say if I can hit this cash out refinance even at 7.5%, like it's a home run deal. I mean, I get all my down payment, all my renovation costs. In 3 years, if interest rates lower, I'm gonna do another cash out refinance.
Yeah.
Lower it again, pull out more money. So I'm in it for long term, right? So like to me, that's why you still got to work, right? Like I still got to work, still bring in cash flow for myself, but slowly build up assets, right? I'm not dependent on this.
I don't know if I missed it, but what was the biggest challenge for your cash out refi right now, like getting your bank financing done?
The challenge is I had a whole slide on it, but it's just like it's a smaller market, it's a tertiary market. The population's kind of small. The rents are a little bit too small. The price per unit's a little too small. The loan's too small. So it takes a certain appetite for a lender.
Right. Yeah.
And the lenders are just so like day by day. Like one day they say something, they approve it. The next day, like, oh no, we're changing our mind. So it's just a very like emotional roller coaster. So, to me, I just said, hey, I might just bite the bullet. Hey, I'm getting $8,300 a month, even if at 11.5% interest only. My loan is around $4,000, right? So I'd say it's probably a break even. At best, let's say, $4,000 for my expense and $4,000 for my loan, I break even. If I rent out the 3 remaining units, that's my positive cash flow, but that's okay. I just want to ride out until I can get better loan terms, right? So that's kind of my strategy. And this is not just me, it's everyone struggling right now. Like I'm literally at the worst time right now. Like this is probably one of the worst times to get a new loan, right? Yeah. Especially I have other things working against me as well. So I'm just persistent with Bank of the West. I said, hey, I feel like I can get them. So I say, dude, I just rented out 2 units in like 3 days. Like at this rate, I have 3 more rent ready units. I can almost get this to almost 100. You know,
Yeah.
at this, what else do you want? Like 100% occupancy? Like, geez, you know, like how strict can you be? And like, I have a relationship with them. Like, do you want to do business with me? Because I'm going to scale. You know, like I'm in my 30s. I have 90 units. Like, come on, like the next 10 years, you know, I could probably double whatever I bought, whatever,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, it's really the relationship. You know, my credit score is good. My DTI is garbage, unfortunately, because I own a bunch of single family homes in California. But all my single family homes have like $600,000 plus of equity. So eventually I can 1031 those into a bigger apartment complexes, you know? So, but yeah, that's my struggle right now. And I'm basically like in my lunch breaks calling all these lenders. Like I just reached out to 2 more local banks and, you know, just keep the conversation open and update them. Hey, like, here's my updated rent roll. I just rent up 2 units. I'm not sure this changes your mind, but I'm making progress. You know, hey, I'm like, if you give me money out, I'm going to renovate 6 more units. That goes back to the bank, right? Essentially, because I'm putting money back into my asset. So it's
Hmm.
safer for them. So, I mean, you know, you just want to seem as low risk as possible. But, you know, despite all that, you just have to go and just keep on reaching out to multiple lenders. Like even I'm still reaching out to more and more and see who bites.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Stephen. I appreciate it. It's really cool to hear your experience.
Cool, cool. So I see a question in the comments here. So when I first entered Region, how did you find a chartered contractor? Easy. So I asked my property manager, hey, who do you recommend? Give me 3.
Yeah.
And she recommended me my current guy. You know, in the beginning, I think so when you work on contractors, the best contractor is going to be cheap, fast, and shoot, what was that last one? They're going to be cheap, they're going to be fast, and they have high quality work. The reality is pick 2 of the 3, right? So my guy was quality but expensive but fast. So when you're on a hard money loan, 12 months, what do you want? You want speed, right? So I paid for speed, and what happened was he ran into my 5 units, and I said, you know what? I'm not getting as much rent as I thought, so maybe I'll reevaluate if I want to renovate these as much, right? So he waited a month, and then at that point, he reached back out to me and said, hey, like I'll lower my price. I'll lower my labor costs if you let me renovate the rest of your units. And I said, okay, perfect. Then we went above, right? So if you see maybe one of my YouTube shorts or my TikTok, Instagram, I have like, I took pictures of my actual like bids. Like he wrote on a piece of paper, like a literal paper and pencil. He wrote it. And if you looked at it, it was always like if the supplies was 1,500, the labor would be double. So supplies is 1,500, labor is 3,000. So it's about, you know, 4,500 to renovate the unit, right? So what was my renovation? Usually new flooring, LVP flooring, you know, fresh coat of paint, resurface the kitchen cabinets if they're still good, reglaze the bathtubs or replace the bathtub with a bathtub kit. You can buy them at Home Depot for like $500. You can buy new vanities at Home Depot. It's like $200. So, you know, pretty like basic cookie cutter stuff. Like if you look at all 4 or 5 units that I renovated, they all look the same. Like, like LVP flooring, white paint, white or light gray or medium gray paint. I reglazed the kitchen cabinets. It's all cookie cutter for economies of scale, right? It's easier for you, easier for the contractor. You buy in bulk. So it's just smart all around. So that's how I do it. So for me, you try before you buy, right? So when my contractor, he renovates, I'd have my property manager inspect it because they always inspect it before renting it out, right? So they would come in, take pictures for me. You know, I'm in California, it's in Oklahoma, I'm far away. They'd send me progress photos, updates. I'd ask my property or my contractor, hey, I pay you or my general contractor, how I paid him was if it costed $4,000, I pay half up front and I pay the second half when he's done, right? So before I pay the second half, I have my property manager go in and inspect everything. So you trust but verify, right? So you can't bullshit me, right? My property manager comes in, they take pictures. I ask my contractor to take videos, take pictures for me. So I use it as content, right? It's free content as well. So, you know, that's what I did. And once I built that trust with him and I knew that he was doing a great job at a reasonable price, I gave him more business, right? And I told him, hey, those 6 units that you didn't renovate, when they go vacant, I'm going to call you, right? If you do a good job, I have my 26 unit where my contractor is slow as hell. I'll send you over there, right? You can help speed that one up too. And I'm going to buy more real estate down the road, right? I'm in the process of selling my mobile home park. Hopefully I'll close on Friday. So I have my selling my mobile park as well as the cash out refinance. I might fall into a larger windfall of money. The money I put into the deal, I get back out. Might want to buy more assets, right? And then I'm gonna need someone to renovate it, and I'll put you in there to renovate it. So, you have to just make it known that like, hey, like I want to scale with you and let's just work well together. Like I'm great to work with because I pay you on time, right? I don't mess up people's money. I pay you on time. I communicate with you and I respond fast. So that's how you work with anybody. And I learned that from my W-2, right? I'm a pharmacy director. I manage like 50 people. Same thing, right? Translatable skill set. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was my question. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Just overall, thank you for the sort of transparency and the learnings through the whole thing. I've actually got a couple more. I want to go back to the lending really quick. So I'm out here in the LA area, San Gabriel Valley. I was doing that locally until the rates went up, and I'm kind of just sitting back and watching for the moment. One question that I have as it relates to the lending is for the lenders that you're talking to for the takeout loan, what are their requirements in terms of the P&L timeframe and basically the P&L curing timeframe? Like, are they looking at your last 3 months, or are they saying, we're going to need 6 to 12 months of history and a rent roll to get a sense for this?
Yeah. So you're referring to the stabilization period. So, for me, I just gave them all the rent rolls I had since I owned the property, which has been about a year. But they typically want the most recent one and then your most recent rent roll. So typically I will give them my whole P&L. I'm pretty transparent, right? Here's my whole P&L and here's my most recent rent roll. And I tell them that, hey, I'm renovating, I'm turning around these tenants, right? Like I'm turning around, and it's impressive. Like what I've done is impressive. Like I literally I renovated 14 units and leased out 14 units in like a year. And this is not even my main focus, right? This is like my second child that, that I'm paying attention to. So, and then I hit higher rents than I thought, right? So, it's just telling a story. Like loan officers need to share a story to the underwriter. If you're talking to smaller banks, so all the banks I listed, Bank of the West, they're a mid-sized bank, the local community banks, usually you're talking to the president, the owner, right? So if you can sell them a story, sell them your experience, that's how you do it, right? Like, hey, look, I'm actively advertising these units. We just had 4 people view these new units yesterday. We had 3 applications and we approved one, and maybe one will take it, right? So you just kind of share them your process, and if they're still skeptical, you just constantly, it's the follow-up, right? Like, hey, lender, like, hey, Bank of the West, I just leased that one more unit. I'm at 90%. Oh, I just leased that one more unit. I'm at 95%. Hey, I'm renovating this unit right now. So you just kind of keep them in the loop of what you're doing and just be transparent in the process, right? Like I'm not trying to hide anything. It's just be transparent and it shows. And, people like working with people like that, right? Because unfortunately you get a lot of crooked people. I can fabricate a rent roll. That's mortgage fraud. But I mean, if push came to shove, I could do that. I don't want to. I'm honest. I said, hey, like this is it. But I'm planning on getting to, 90, 95%. Obviously, I want it rented out because I get more cash flow. I'm not going to say no to $1,500 a month extra.
Right.
So, that's just kind of it. So, but the lenders, they ask for a lot of documents, and you want to give those documents fast, right? So they want like tax returns, right? My tax returns are shit, right? Like, even though I have a high income W-2, and a lot of my real estate's kind of negative, right? Because I cashed out refinance like a large loan out of one of my single family homes, and I'm renting that one out at a negative. Took that money and bought 3 value add assets that I currently own, right? So if you follow my journey, I bought 80 units in 8 months. And I had an offer that got rejected. I almost bought like 150 units. I'm glad I didn't get the 4th one. I'd probably be bankrupt, right, at this point. Or be admitted to a psychiatric hospital. But, that's just kind of, that's why my tax statement doesn't look good. And I explained to them, hey, like I buy value add real estate. Like, of course my tax return is not going to look good, but I have a high income W-2. I have a high income W-2, right? So, you know, and then because one lender told me, we like the property, we don't like you. I was just like, what? Like in apartment complexes, you look at the property, not necessarily me. Like my credit score is amazing. I have 800 credit score, right? And I work a W-2. Yes, I have some, you know, real estate that's like heavy value add, but I told him I'm trying to sell my mobile home park. You know, if I sell it, you know, I'm probably gonna get almost $1 million back in my pocket, and that's not gonna be a negative on on me anymore, right? Because it was a fix and flip mobile home park. So, you know, like, and then my 20 unit's gonna be stabilized, and eventually my 26 unit. I mean, that one I'm getting $9,000 a month, and I have 10 vacants, and I'm renting those out for $700 each. 700 times 10, 7,000. That's all positive cash flow.
Yep.
So just like that, I could go, you know, $7,000 positive cash flow once I start renting out these units, right? So it's
yeah,
they know, but it's the bank, right? So it's just the bank. So when they say no, that just means ask another lender. So that's what I kind of teach my students in my mentorship. Like, no just means ask someone else, because each bank has a different appetite. It's just like a going on dates of girls, right? Yeah, it's like 20 girls, one might say yes, right? Different appetite, whatever. It's a numbers game, it's persistence. And when you engage lenders, you learn more and more, right? I know what they want. I have my documents ready. So it's so impressive. I literally just say, hey, what documents do you need? I'll send you a link to my Dropbox. I already have all the documents ready in there. Whatever you want, based on multiple lenders, I already have that all in there. And like they're impressed because I tell them the story and I have all the documents. So it's unfortunate. It's like, you know, back in the day, you wear a suit and tie, you walk in, try to look impressive. You know, it's kind of the same thing today. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, what I take away from that is, you know, you're showing them your you know, your current financials and your current story, but you're telling them what the future is going to look like and updating them and progress along the way. So
yeah.
And then one more question while I have you. So going back to the tertiary market, the lending in the tertiary market and the connection to that. Now that you know that, are you planning on moving markets and or buying a bigger building so that you're not, you know, kind of stuck in the place that you are right now? What's your pivot, given that you've now learned that?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I thought about that myself. Like, probably the next deal I want to take down is probably like a 50 unit myself, because I'm selling my mobile home park. So I'm going from 90 to 50, and then I want to buy another 50, go back to 100. You know, after I give myself a break, you know, it's really stressful doing all that.
Take a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Like I go on vacation and you know, I just went to the Philippines, came back, but then the moment I'm flying home, all the stress and anxiety hits me like it slaps me in the face, right? But anyways, like looking back, I probably would want to scale in Oklahoma City, which I have my 26 unit. Like I literally get calls every like once a month getting offers unsolicited on that deal. You know, I bought for $500,000. I'm getting $1.5 million offers like right now, right? Because people want 1031 out of this. And I'm biting. I'm saying, no, I want to hold on to this because I want to do a cash out refinance, right? Like I'm in it for the long term, you know, right now. And I'm renovating it. It's a good asset, nice C-class apartment area. So honestly, when I actively looking, I'm gonna send letters out, you know, prop stream, yell letters complete. I have links in the video, you know, in the future. But you know, I'm gonna probably do all Oklahoma. And my answer is ideally I do want it in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, which is the bigger markets. But if I have another good deal in a tertiary market, you know, like if it's another deal in Enid, like I'm not going to say no to it. Like if it makes sense, I'm not going to say no to it. And at least I'll have my lenders in line, right? So actually, it was funny, like my 20 unit, I was making offers on a 50 unit that was nearby my 20 unit, kind of. And at the time, I was a beginner and I was too focused on like, because they had extra land where I can build another 20 units. I was so caught up in the development side of things. I ended up just like talking myself out of the deal. And I'm kind of kicking myself to this day because it was 2.5 million, 50 units, 50K per unit. It's a little bit pricey, but all 50 units are Section 8. So literally on the first of every month, without any question, the owner got $35,000 into his account on the first every month automatically. And I used to think, you know, Section 8, you know, they pay a little bit less, but like just the peace of mind of knowing on the first of every month, you get 100% collections, that's like worth it, right? So I wish, like, know what I know today, I was like, oh, I wish I negotiated, because you wanted to sell it to, develop duplexes. I wish I bought it, but I had them seller finance a portion of it. Like I could have, like, let's say 75% loan from Bank of the West, and then the remaining 25%, I could have he could have held a note for me, and I could have bought that with $0 out of my pocket. He owned it free and clear. And at the time, I didn't really know much about creative financing, right? This is about me about 2 years ago, right? So I'm not that much further than you guys, right? That's why I keep on telling on my sessions, like, yes, what I am today is impressive, but like 2 years ago, I was not that. I just had about 5 single family homes. The past 2 years, that's when I scaled to 90. But yeah, I keep on thinking, say the one that got away, But anyways, yeah, ideally Oklahoma City, good property management there. But if I find a good deal in a tertiary market, I might take it down myself, or maybe I'll just wholesale the deal. If I don't want it and I get it negotiated well, I'll just wholesale it and take like I could have wholesaled my 20 unit, probably made $50,000, right? Because it appraised that 50,000 above it, and it's easy to justify it to, someone else. So, especially people in California, where we're based, like, come on, 400,000 doesn't even get me a condo here, right? So in San Francisco, it gets me like a little hut under a bridge, not even a house. So yeah, that's kind of my experience. I would say it really depends on where the deals are. Like, I don't pass on good deals, but definitely if I can get a 50 unit in Oklahoma City, that would probably be my sweet spot. And Oklahoma City is around 65K per unit. So if I can buy it for around 35K to 40K per unit and put in 10K, that's my margin, right? So that would be my deal that I would want.
Cool. Well, thank you, Stephen. I just discovered you yesterday, so I have a lot of YouTube videos to watch and look forward to more insights from all your projects. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for hopping on, and continue to join the sessions. And I post a bunch of videos. I took a little bit of break because I've been so busy, but I do try to post a lot. I just talk about my experience. But before that, I think I saw another hand. Any other questions? Is it Kenny?
Yeah, hi. Hey, Steve. Thanks for doing this. My question is, so you mentioned you used PropStream to find this. Were there any specific filters you set when you're trying to find properties that worked for you?
Yeah. In the mentorship, I have the whole template I did for it, but at a high level, off the top of my head, it's there's criteria for like apartment complexes. It's like I think 100 plus units, residential real estate. It was almost like 10 categories, like duplexes or above, triplex or above, quadplex or above. I think 5+ units, garden style apartment complexes, high rise apartment complexes. I think residential income. It was like 10 categories, and I would those categories. But what you want to do, and what I teach is go on LoopNet, grab an address of an apartment complex in your market, and put it into LoopNet, into PropStream, to see how it's classified. Because each county classifies apartments different. Some might be apartments, some might say commercial. But just know that if you click commercial, you might get some like, retail strip centers, industrial centers when you send out your mailers. It's very common, right?
I see.
So that's the criteria that I use. And then for my lettering campaign, I don't have any letters anymore, but if you check my other video, I use the invitation size envelope. It's A2 size envelope. And you want to just handwrite the owner's name and address. Don't put your face in the front, put it on the back, because it makes it look like the invitation card. And then when they open it, they get your letter, right? So I have this letter template that I use, and then I have a handwritten like, hey Kenny, I want to buy your apartment complex. Call me. Here's my phone number. Here's my address. So the whole point of the letter is to get them to call you, right? So if you were here earlier, it's $1.80 per letter, and when you send out letters, it's about a 3% response rate in a hot market. In a normal market, it's a hot market, California, Texas, a 1% response rate. So if you send out 300 letters, 3 people might call you. Right? I was getting around 9 to 10. So but then like the big picture, right? I sent out 1,800 letters. I spent $3,000, about $4,000 for those letters. But just on my 20 unit, I made $50,000 into equity day one. My 26 unit, I made it appraised at $250,000 above what I bought it.
Oh, wow.
So I spent $4,000 to make $300,000 of equity day one, and have the ability to double both these apartment complexes at least. My 26 unit, I'm tripling it from $500,000 to 1.5. My 20 unit, you know, as you saw, you know, 350 about 700.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the power. Like people knock on letters, but like to me, it's more. I like it. You know, I do letters for some people in my mentorship, but basically, like I like it because I just send the letters out, and then they just call me. The hot leads will call me. And because I'm working full time, I don't have time to like cold call people or cold text, right? And I don't want to pay a virtual assistant to do that. So I send a letter out, and then so I've had luck with it. You know, I've heard mixed reviews about it, but you know, for me personally, I done well with letters. So, you know, I advocate for that, and you know, I should have some more content about that. But I do have one video talking about my direct mail campaign. So.
Okay.
Check that video out on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And happy to share more about it.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I just discovered you literally earlier today, so I'm gonna go check that out tonight.
Yeah, I have like 100 and I don't know 50 videos. A lot of sessions talking about stuff. Yeah, I've been interviewing people more recently because these sessions have been dying. But yeah, thanks for hopping on.
Okay. Cool.
I see a question for Karen. You have a question, Karen? Oh, I think you're muted. Let me see. Unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you go.
You might answer my question, everybody. I was wondering about do you find like I've heard other people talk about direct mail. I mean, are you competing with other people who are direct mailing these owners? And is that like a saturated way of finding opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of these owners that I'm sending letters to, they're getting hit by letters, cold call, cold text, cold email. But to me, it's the right time, right place, right person, right? So when you send a letter out, they may not be motivated at that time. But maybe in 1 year, you know, I work in healthcare, right? So I see people die on a daily basis, unfortunately. There might be death. There might be disability. There might be disagreement with partners. There might be divorce. And now they're a motivated seller. So you just have to be there at the right time, right? And then also the key is you want them to talk to you, and that's when you build a relationship, right? Because I'm some random guy from California sending you a letter, right? And you're in Oklahoma. There's not going to be much trust there. So I leverage the fact that, you know, pharmacists, you know, we're technically doctors. So I'm Dr. Stephen Nguyen. I write down my letter. I write Dr. Stephen Nguyen. I leverage, it builds trust, right? Oh, he's a doctor, right? He seems trustworthy. Number one. Number two is, well, he might have money, right? Because they associate, you know, people in healthcare, doctors as having money. So, you know, that's what I did. So it's just right time, right place. And like I said, a lot of people will call you. They're fishing. I call them fishers. They just want you to overpay for them. Hey, you're a rich guy in California, overpay for my property, right? Those are not motivated people, but the people that I closed on, I could tell immediately that they wanted to sell, that they were, and how you can tell is they just give you information very fast. They're very transparent and they communicate very regularly. Like you shouldn't have to pull teeth to like communicate with these people, right? And then they see you, they're like, hey, you know, I like this guy. You know, we built trust over time, and he's transparent. Like I'm super transparent. Like when I make an offer, like they're like, oh, like why is that your offer? I'm like, that's the tax assessed price. Like here's a screenshot of the tax assessed price. You know, they're like, oh, how'd you make that offer? Oh, I just did sales comparables of 3 apartments nearby that sold in the last year, and they're selling for $30,000 per unit. So here are the property addresses, here are the sale dates, here's the sales price, this is the price per unit. That's my offer, right? So you just transparent, and yeah, just making it seem easy. Like, hey, like you know, obviously now at this point I own multiple apartments, so it's easy. Like, hey, my apartment complex is 3 miles away from yours. I already have property management. I have an asset. You can go see my property if you want to, right? I can do that now, but when I was starting, I couldn't. So I just said, hey, my property manager, he's been managing the area for like 30 years, and I'm going to use him. So you leverage whatever you can, right? Or if you're part of like a mentorship or something, you can leverage your mentor, right? That's someone more experienced than you, or partners. If you have partners, you can leverage them as well. So, you know, it's a numbers game, right time, right place. You just have to be consistent with it. You know, a lot of my people in my mentorship, they get discouraged after sending 3 batches. I'm like, you expect to send mailers at least for a year to get any results, because people, they take the letter, they throw it into a cupboard, and when they do spring cleaning, they pull out the letter like, oh, I'm motivated suddenly to sell, right? So you have to be, it's just the price of doing business, right? I tell my students, you need at least $600 per month for your marketing campaign. And honestly, if you can't afford that, you shouldn't be buying apartment complexes. At that point, you shouldn't be buying apartment complexes. Maybe learn to wholesale real estate or just do something else, right? Like if you can't afford $600 a month for a marketing campaign, you shouldn't be doing apartment complexes where the bigger fish play, right? So, you know, and I'd say $600 is not terrible, right? That's not even that terrible. You just have to be consistent. But a lot of my students, they get so discouraged. They get so discouraged. You know, when they don't get any responses and they're not persistent with their hot leads. I said, when someone calls you, you literally spent $600 that month to get 3 people to call you. You better treat those people that call you and be persistent with them. Like I still, like when the moment I'm active again in buying, I'm gonna reach out to the contacts that called me before first, so that you know, if in case they want to sell, because at the time, you know, maybe it didn't work out for whatever reason. But I have a bunch of people that had 50 unit, 80 units. That's what I kind of want to buy now, or when I'm ready. So I'll reach back out and say, hey, like I'm looking to buy again. Like, you want to make a deal happen? So, so yeah, I would say it just takes persistence, and you have to be consistent with it to get the results. It's discouraging, but you know, one deal is all it takes to change your life, right? Like you know, I can pull out, you know, basically like almost, how much am I pulling out? About $250,000, assuming my cash refinance goes through. That's tax free. I just can sit on there and leave my job and coast for like a couple of years and you know, whatever, do whatever I want. So, but it's not gonna be easy, right? It's not gonna be easy to do it. And you know, this thing's gonna rent out for $10,000 a month once it's full. And there might be a little cash flow in the deal, right? Like there's probably gonna be a little cash flow in the deal. So it's a long-term game, but you make the most wealth by forcing appreciation. Cash flow will come later, right?
Yeah,
so
understood.
that's how I'm gonna play the game.
Thank you so much. I also discovered you today, like everybody else has spoken. So it's been super informative and watched a few videos. So thank you for educating us.
Cool. Well, I know we went a little bit over, but any last questions that anyone had that's burning? If not, then I will sign off, and thank you for hopping on, and hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.